Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Total protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal with your host, Conan Neutron. Broadcasting from a secret underground lair in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
A gigantic middle finger to everything that is rotten about music, rock and roll, and corporate power.
The thing is, though, if you don't laugh, you're going to go on a killing spree with sharp and nails.
Confidence of a hero or a fool. I wasn't exactly certain which.
Could not be more professional.
It's only one I choose to devote my life to. That's okay.
It means something. It means something.
And they got away.
You know, that's my take on it. What's yours?
Protonic reversal.
That's like a science thing, right?
Indeed it is. It is a science thing. It's a science place. It's a scientific fact that we are all up in your faces. Time once again for the one, the only Protonic reversal. Hello, yes, later time than normal. That's correct. Your watches do not deceive you in this way. But I'm very excited to do what I need to do to make sure that I have time to talk to this guy. It's a guest that has been requested by patrons of this very show multiple times over. And that who I was frequently reminded, oh yeah, I should try to talk to that guy. who I wanted to have on in the 10 years that I've been doing this show. So it's a very exciting night. It's an exciting night for me. And dare I say also for you. But before we get to talking to Mr. Chris Haskett, welcome to Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. I'm your host, Conan Neutron. I'm a rock and roll lifer who's been touring and recording for 24 years, most known for the band Conan, Neutron, and the Secret Friends. Music is a huge part of my life, and I use the format of this very long-running podcast to talk about music with musicians whose work I enjoy and respect, but who may not be household names. This is episode 394. Now, this is your first time listening to the show. Archives of it are available for free. No ads, no sponsors, no kidding. ProtonicReversal.com. However, if you want to support the show and get episodes sooner, $1 a month at patreon.com/ProtonicReversal will achieve that goal. And if you like the show, or even just a single episode, please feel free to like, subscribe on your platform of choice, share it around the internet, even leave a review. All that helps people discover the show. It beats back the almighty algorithmic overlords. This is a darn nice thing to do. So yeah, Chris Haskett, Rollins Band, Pigface, Reeves Gabrels. I mean, like solo artist. He's one of the that guy guitarists, and I mean that as a strict compliment. No more ado, no further ado. Let's talk to Chris right now. How you doing, sir?
I'm okay. Yeah. That guy is correct. I mean, kind of, I'm the. Oh yeah, what's his name again? Yeah, that. But there's a lot of us out there. So
like Harry Dean Stanton was a that guy actor, right? He's amazing. Yeah, but it's like, oh yeah, that guy.
Show.
Yeah. You're like, I know who that is. Oh yeah, I like that guy. What's that guy's whole deal? So yeah, being a that guy guitarist is better than.
It's all right.
I mean, as a highest compliment. We're doing this a little later,
and I take it as such. It's like almost all of my favorite musicians are completely unknown to anybody except my colleague musicians. So there you go.
If you don't mind me spilling the tea on this, we were doing the show a little bit later than the normal slot so that you could see some of your friends that are also friends of this show as well, the Aesthetics.
Indeed, and they were, like I said, I only caught a little of it, but they were, as always, fantastic.
Yeah, what a great band. And I'm sorry they didn't get to see him with Brandon James Lewis because...
No, I think I'll definitely catch them at some point when he's around, But with Anthony Pirogue, I mean...
He's so good. I mean,
he's so good. I mean, it's one of these, sometimes you see something, I mean, I don't know how it is with you, but most musicians I know, when somebody does something better than them, they're jealous. But sometimes it's somebody doing something better than you and you're like, nah, I can't do that. I mean, he does what I was doing, but he does it better. And that's it.
He has such a unique voice. What was interesting to me is because before I heard a note of the music, like I booked their show in Milwaukee, and we played with them too. And there was like a before and after of me seeing them. And then it was like, oh, I get it. It's like all about like what he's doing. And Brandon's like, yes, that's exactly what it is. And I'm like, no, I completely get it. And I have this is not a humble brag. It's like the nicest thing I own, but I own a custom electrical guitar company guitar. It's like the coolest thing I own by far. Changed the way I play music. But I like, he's like, oh, you mind if I check it out? And Anthony's just like, and I was like, oh my God, Jesus.
I didn't know my guitar could do that. Yeah.
We're just sitting here watching Back to the Future, and I'm just like, oh my God, he's like putting on like a solo concert over here.
Yeah.
No joke guitar player.
No, serious.
Just so often players will maybe they have great technique, but they lack feel, but they lack a voice, and he's got all of it.
Yeah, no, he does, and he makes, and he also, I mean, it's very, it's unusual for somebody to use, because he uses a lot of effects, but it's unusual to use them and not have it get in the way, and he uses it in a way that it really supports and gets, it's like, no, we have to stop talking about him, he's too good.
It's too... Yeah, like where it doesn't just dominate, so it becomes like everything. I mean, there's a place for it. Don't get me wrong, but
absolutely,
like Nels Cline is another example of someone I can think
absolutely.
of.
Absolutely, and Rebo. I mean, Rebo doesn't need effects. He's just Rebo. But
Rebo is an effect.
Yeah, basically.
He should have an effect pedal.
But
Rebo.
Yeah, but it's also inspirational when you see people who are just out doing their thing and it works.
Yes.
Because most of the time I see people out there doing their thing, and me and our friends are the audience, and then when I play. Them and their friends are my audience, and it's like playing to the other bands. But anyhow,
yeah, I have no idea what that's like. But anyway,
no. What else would you like to know?
Well, no, but I think it's amazing because you have such a rich history with DC. I mean, you've lived in so many different places, you've operated out of so many different places.
Yeah.
But I mean, you came up in DC, but you also have come back a couple times for
it's
periods, right?
It's still my nascent home base. I mean, this and London, the touchstones, even though I haven't lived in Washington for a long time. I did grow up here, and I'm, contemporary. Ian and Henry and I are all, we're the class of 1979, 1980, and so like Guy Picciotto was like a freshman in my high school when I was a senior. So I mean, and same Lyle Presler was a year younger than me, and Brian Baker. So like that there's a lot of DC-ness,
DC vibes. Enzymes, right? That was your
Enzymes as well. I mean, that's which is, and so I mean, where do you want me to focus?
Well, so I think that's such an interesting time in music, especially for anyone interested in punk rock, counterculture, et cetera, because that's sort of like the era where like punk was turning into post-punk. You had bands like PiL.
Absolutely. Before it became hardcore, absolutely. Yeah.
Before the rule book came down. And
but I mean, even before, again, when Public Image was going, so like with the Enzymes.
Yeah.
My first band, I joined the Enzymes. The Enzymes were an existing band. And it was really early days. We're talking like, this was 78. So we were really into like the Damned and the Sex Pistols and X-Ray Spex. Yeah. But we were also listening to a lot of Sun Ra and the World Saxophone Quartet, the Art Ensemble of Chicago, Anthony Braxton, and they would play the same venue. So you would go to like DC Space, and one week you'd see, 999, and the next week you'd see the orchestra, and you'd see a lot of the same people, right? So it was this wide, a very broad horizon of what was like non-mainstream music, and then it factionalizes as it goes down, through time. But originally there was that total freedom, which there was which is kind of encapsulated also by the no wave scene that was going on in New York. Sure. It was a much more kind of rarefied version of this, where they really kind of condensed it down to that crossover of like James Chance
and early Lydia Lunch's what's that?
Eight-Eyed Spy. She had Teenage Jesus.
Teenage Jesus and the Jerks. Then Eight-Eyed Spy. Yeah,
exactly. So I mean, and then there was so much, and there was so much innovation going on. I think what happens is when scenes get bigger, I think they reach a critical mass of homogeneity. Where everybody suddenly wants to do what the band they saw last week was already doing. So and then the band that comes the week after that goes, oh, I want to be like them, you know, and it kind of
Right.
funnels. But originally, you know, when we were, you know, teenagers, I mean, I didn't know Henry and Ian that well at first. And Henry told me at the time, you know, before punk rock came along, they used to argue about whether Van Halen was better than Ted Nugent. Or Ted Nugent.
Sure.
That was a big schism between Ian and Henry, as far as I remember telling me. You know, you just want something.
Was Henry Van Halen and
I
Ian
think Henry
Nugent?
was Van Halen and Ian was Nugent. But you have to check with Ian.
Yeah.
But
I don't know why I know that, but I figured that would be the case.
Yeah, I don't know,
but it's like aggressive music. It's weird in its
but
way.
It's raw. It's
right?
got it. I mean, you listen to the way Eddie Van Halen played, even if you don't like the poppiness of it.
Yeah.
This is sheer musicality of it, and real raw, and it's something genuine. You know, that's really what I think that the kind of early punk rock and the post-punk stuff was sincerity is not the right word, but genuineness, right?
Right, because as much as, you know, when people think of Ted Nugent now, they think of his odious political beliefs, but Stranglehold kicks ass. I mean, that's a great song. Has he written a good riff in the last 40 years? No, he hasn't. But
no,
I mean,
but again, to me, he's a bit of a mystery because he is by no means a dummy.
No, he's not a dumb dude.
Which makes it even weirder. You're like.
Yeah.
You're a smart guy who played rock and roll, and you ended up somehow through bow hunting, you know, in MAGA world. I don't know. I just don't know how he got there, and I think it's a real shame. But that's where he is, you know.
I agree, and less said
about
it, the better.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
But respect to the stuff that rocks, you know.
Yeah,
like, I mean,
exactly. You know.
So what about and then like you were saying with homogenization, right? As much as Bad Brains were this incredible band, all these bands like, oh, they're trying to do that one Bad Brains thing, and that's their band. Okay. Yeah, and you know, cool.
Yeah, and it was the same with the new. Yeah, exactly. Well, which to be fair, that's where the Beastie Boys started.
Sure.
You know. Well, and fortunately, it didn't work, and they went off and did something else, which was amazing. But yeah, no, you're right. I mean, but also like when somebody has innovated something, and what the Bad Brains did, I mean, partially was not just the songs, but it's also the actual quality of the musicianship. I remember seeing the Bad Brains for the first time. The Enzymes used to play with the Bad Brains, and it was like, you know, most of the bands were kind of a little bit haphazard, a little bit under rehearsed, you know, it's kind of like, oh, you know, my guitar doesn't work. And the Bad Brains were like so good, so pro, and so on it that it raised the bar for everybody, you know.
Yeah, like they had it together and they had like a fully realized thing.
Yeah, they're one of the only bands that can actually swing at that tempo. When you listen to first, listen to Pay to Come, it swings. It's not, we used to call it, you know, with all those hardcore bands, most of them couldn't actually keep the beat at the tempo they were playing. We used to call it hamster fucking. I mean, it's just, you know, it's like, and they can't do it. Some bands could, and the Bad Brains were one of the only bands that could actually pull that off. You know, and then they spawned a whole bunch of imitators who couldn't quite do it.
That's such a smart observation. My band played a show. There's a lot of bands on there, but there was a Bad Brains tribute band. I'm like, oh, cool! I can't wait to see this. But it didn't have that swing that they have, and I'm like, okay, so I get what you're doing. Cool, I like those songs too. You know.
Yeah,
you know,
good for you. Yeah, it looks good on you though.
It looks good on you. Tell me, tell me when you, because you moved to Leeds, right, for school?
Yeah, so I did. I was a Vassar girl for 2 years, and I just after 2 years, it was expensive, and I was actually failing most of my classes, and I was pretty sure I just wanted to do a degree in philosophy, and I didn't want to do liberal arts and have to, you know, and gotten out of a relationship and was just kind of like, you know, I'm going to go join the Navy. But, you know, so I'm going to run away, join the Foreign Legion. I'll move to Leeds. I'm dual national anyway, so I have a UK passport, so it was easy for me to go at the lower rate. So I moved to Leeds to finish my degree in philosophy, and it was like, it was really cool because it was like, there was a lot of, I mean, Leeds was put out a lot of the Gang of Four had just left. Soft Cell were still around, but they were big, so they weren't like a local band anymore.
Was Delta 5 around still, or was that
Delta 5 are gone? But I mean,
Yeah.
but again, and the Mekons. So John Langford is just another one of these like people I've known for like 800 years.
Sure.
Because he was a fixture. But there was a lot going on, and this is just before goth really got started. So the Sisters of Mercy were still like one of the, they were like the local band that the uni used to open for everybody.
Right.
I think it's on the Sisters of Mercy opening for like the Long Riders.
Awesome. Yeah.
Sure.
It's like, what kind of show was that? People,
and the Mission hadn't gotten, so goth, the fashion was starting, but the bands hadn't started yet. And there was a lot of really cool stuff. Again, really innovative post-punk stuff going on, and there was a lot of freedom to do things. This is actually, before if we're going to just throw this in, there's a band that was absolutely amazing. Speaking of them aesthetics, back in Leeds, back in the day, that not a lot of people know about. They only put out 2 records, and then the main guy died. They were a trio called Zero, Slingsby, and the Works. Right?
Oh wow! Okay.
And it was it's Zero with an X. It's Xero. His name was Matthew. But anyway, I urge you to check out Zero, Slingsby, and the Works. They were a trio who played super fast dance jazz. Right. It was, and it was
okay,
like
that sounds rad.
It was like a drummer playing like a trap kit.
Yeah.
Like a jazz trap kit, upright bass, and I think he played alto and tenor. And it worked in that weird way. The same way morphine worked. If you look at morphine, it's like there's no way that works.
You try to explain it, and you're like, that sounds terrible.
No,
but I assure you, it's great.
But so and Zero Slings. I think there's a documentary movie being made about him at the moment. But he was that was a really amazing thing, and not a lot of people know about it. And you can't interview him.
Right. Yeah.
But that was just one of the cool things that was happening at Leeds. And I chose Leeds. I mean, I got into a couple of different universities, and I chose Leeds just because Who Live at Leeds had been recorded there.
Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. No, yeah. I mean, like, why not, right? Sure. I mean, it seems like
I had a good philosophy department.
Yeah. Well, that also helps if that's what you're doing. Okay, so are you playing music at this time too?
Yeah. So I'd always been working. I've been constantly working on my own stuff, which was like, always weird and angular guitar stuff, but it didn't have any form. And I ended up by accident in a really fun, trash rock surf band called Surfing Dave and the Absent Legends. And Dave is great. I mean, he's got a vocal range of about 4 notes, and he plays the guitar with 1 finger. So it was just kind of like, no, it works. He's totally. I love it. No, that's great. He rocks. He totally rocks. But it was this kind of mashup of imagine if Paul Westerberg fronted by Jonathan Richman. I mean, sorry, the Replacements fronted by. It was this kind of like naive, innocent rock thing that was kind of shambolic but still worked.
Right.
So, and that was my introduction to touring. So we started playing again, we get on the university circuit. We played a lot of gigs with Billy Bragg when he was getting started. And then we started touring Europe. That was my first tour of Europe, was with Surfing Dave. And while, so we did that, and then the wheels kind of fell off. And the wheels kind of fell off at exactly the time that Black Flag broke up.
Right.
And I happened to be back in DC visiting my parents, and Henry happened to be in Virginia. We're old friends, and we get together. And my memory is that I ran into him, and he said, "Well, that was weird." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "What?" He said, "Well, Greg just quit Black Flag." It's like,
how? Yeah, how does that?
How
happen?
do you quit your own band?
Right, exactly.
This again, my memory is not perfect, but that's my memory of it. And we've been swapping tapes. They stayed at my house when they played in Leeds last time in '84, and we've been swapping tapes and swapping ideas. And it really was kind of like, okay, that band's over. Let's do something.
Right? Because why not? Right?
Why not? Why not? Because he liked the stuff I was writing, and that's where I started with Henry.
And that's so interesting too, because I think a lot of people think of Rollins Band as like bursting forth fully formed from the head of Zeus.
No,
and it totally was not that way at all.
Not at all.
Right? Yeah.
We. Rollins Band did have a head start because Henry had been in Black Flag, right?
Yeah, sure.
And Black Flag had an insane work ethic, which I think was actually, I believe, and I don't know, but I think it was more down originally to do Chuck Dukowski. In watching how Henry worked with the band, I felt there was much more of Dukowski coming through than Ginn. I mean, because the other 2 guys in the band were Andrew and Sim, who'd been in Gone, who also at
Right.
that point didn't have anything to do with Gin. And I'm not saying anything bad about Greg's, you know, but
No, but Gin, I
that's
mean,
other people.
like
But we did. So we had a bit of.
Yeah.
We had that. Sometimes you get that one shot of interest, right? It's kind
sure,
of like,
yeah.
So he basically Henry said, "Look, you know, find some musicians, book a studio,
Let's
let's make a record."
Yeah, let's do something cool. Which, why not? Because remember at the time, for those latter Black Flag records, you know, they were like the thing where it's like, okay, there's this side is music and this side's spoken word. They were,
Yeah,
he was already. I love that process of weeding out record. Henry's not even on it. It's great.
Yes,
You know,
and the Gone records. I mean, sure,
Gone records are, you know, they're.
And so you know what we did. So Hot Animal Machine, which isn't actually technically a Rollins Band record, but that's where we started. Was actually more, you know, it was kind of like throw spaghetti at the walls. Like the way it works. So the drummer on that is the drummer from Surfing Dave. The bassist is a friend of ours from DC. It's a fantastic bass player called Bernie Wandell. And you know, we just got together and hammered out the riffs that I'd been writing. And Henry sat down with a pad of paper and wrote some words, and we kind of like, okay. And what I was listening to most at that point was The Birthday Party.
One of my favorite bands of all time.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I knew Roland, and I still hang out with Nick Harvey, but Roland Howard was like, you know,
that's
it's such a unique, again,
often emulated, but never
imitated. You know, exactly. But the point, but that angularity, that attack and angularity, you can totally. When I went back and listened to Hot Animal Machine, like the Road song, or it's called Man Outside. That's total Birthday Party riff. I mean, it's not a steal, but it's like there were a lot of bands in that ethos, and that's where our head was at that point.
To me, it seems like the crossroads between what Roland was doing in Birthday Party and like the more aggressive Fripp stuff, like the
again, Fripp is a total. You know, again, I wish I could play like him, but again,
sure.
Even Steve Vai says you can't play like Fripp, so I feel better now. But,
exactly.
You know, and I had again, you know, when somebody, I remember at one point, you know, I speak primarily in digressions. You'll notice as we
that's fine. That's what this show does, so it's okay.
So like I said, for my next non sequitur, no, but this is like, you know, and again, nothing but kudos and respect to the band. But when somebody said, you know, what do Rollins Band sound? Well, Rollins, I said like, well, it's kind of like if David Yao fronted the Birthday Party. Or if Henry sang with, you know, or you know, I don't care, some iteration or if Nick Cave fronted Jesus Lizard, you know,
sure, totally, and it makes sense, especially because it's
so that's where we were at, and like I said, we got that one shot. You make a record, people go, okay, I want to hear what the singer from Black Flag.
What's this gonna be?
What's it gonna be? And are they gonna be any good? The record was a little bit weird for people, but when we started playing live, right?
That's when it kind of.
Oh, okay. Now I get it. So we really had to sell it live. I mean, you know.
Right, because the record's cool. I mean, there's that Suicide cover. That's good.
And there's a Wire cover on the. Again, we just did whatever. I mean, and
you got Mark Mothersbaugh doing your album art. You're going to be doing okay. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're doing something right.
And like I said, it's a funny one. It wasn't what people expected.
Right. Well, because what they expected is like it's going to sound exactly like Black Flag. Why would people expect that? Who knows?
Exactly. I think that's what a lot of people wanted. So on the very first tour of America, I was like, you know, we've got to play a Black Flag song.
Yeah.
You have to, because I mean, and Henry was like, okay, fine, but it's got to be a Chuck song. Right. So we did What I See, which I used to love playing. Actually, I don't know why we dropped it. Maybe we just had too many songs. But that was, and we were also doing Gates of Steel. Speaking of Devo,
yes,
you know, we did Gates of Steel and What I See,
which is a total banger that totally works as a guitar.
Exactly, song, I wished I could tap it, but I've never gotten to it tapping. Right? You know? So
it's so good.
I love those little. Again, that's also the Fripp thing. I love those little repetitive riffs, and there's like a lot of them. You know? So.
Yeah, no, and I think that's so cool because it's something where even though as a band it wasn't necessarily quote unquote fully formed yet, there was an ethos already, like from the beginning.
Yeah, there was a. I mean, I have, you know, aside from one of the aspects of being that guy is that I mean in a good way, is that like I've always been, and I'm not. This is me being like, you know, Gandhi or something. Like I'm the weakest link in almost every band I've ever been in. Right? And that has made me have to be a better musician, right? I stepped into a band with Andrew Weiss and Sim Kane,
Right.
who had already been playing, who were amazing to begin with, and had already been playing together for 15 years.
Yeah. Which you get that
And-
telepathy of just playing with someone for that long, where it's like,
Well,
okay,
exactly,
this is an unfair
right?
advantage.
So it was like,
you know?
all of a sudden, I was like, oh shit, I'm not very good.
Right. Well, it's also just that you don't naturally fit in with the other players
exactly.
immediately.
But
I mean,
it makes you, again, like I was saying with the Babbage, it makes you up your game. And then, you know, and I talked to Andrew about this. It's really funny because I ran into Andrew in Amsterdam when he was out with Jello Biafra. And we were talking about when he wasn't in the band anymore. And I said, you know, well, where were we going to go? The only place to go to fill your shoes was like, you know, Melvin Gibbs. Right?
Yeah.
Then it was sort of the same thing again. It's like, you know, so all of a sudden Melvin's in the band, and now I'm suddenly not any good again.
Right, but in a different way. Yeah.
Now
exactly.
I can't play again. Great. You know?
But I think you're onto something, because it's sort of when you're playing with musicians that are, you know, that have that level of musical communication, and they have like such a unique voice in their playing, it's going to make you want to step up your own playing.
Oh yeah, you have to
meet and match.
You look like an idiot. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Like, who's this guy?
No,
Who let this dude in?
I mean, I can't help looking like an idiot sometimes, but
well,
you know, you don't. But at the same time, also I have to say, like, I have benefited a lot from being on stage with like Sim and Melvin. It's like, boy, do I look good. You know.
No, but like, and there's an effusive energy, especially with like those early albums of just like, it's a new band that sounds very lived in already, but also has something to prove.
Yeah, that was
right.
It. I mean, yeah, we were hungry. I mean, absolutely. And what was good is, like, you know, we did years of the sleeping on people's floors. I slept in the van because I just couldn't stand. It was more, you know, everybody else would go into whatever, you know, crab infested place. I slept in the van. I put newspapers over the windows. It didn't keep the light out, but because it was consistent. Yeah, and, you know, and there was the usual, like, you know, it's like the Mojo Nixon song, "Where the Hell's My Money?" You know, we lived that, right?
Right, of course.
For a couple of years, but people came, you know, and the audience got better, and the band played hard, and it paid, and that was a really great band. I mean, you know, I would have paid to see us.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and there was a growth trajectory with it too, that it wasn't just the one thing.
Yeah, and then part of the, you know, I think I think there are two peaks for the Rollins Band, one with Andrew and one with Melvin. Yeah, and like, you know, when I go back and listen to, like, the stuff I'm proudest of is the live record. Actually, is Turned On. Yeah, well, because you're hitting it so hard. You know, and what was funny is we would, you know, this is we'll get to this, but somewhere around 1990, 91 ish, stuff changed. But prior to that, you could go out, especially in Europe, and hammer the audience with 2 hours of new material. Right. And they would dig it. And they would stay, and they would go, wow. And at one point, I think it was Vienna or somewhere, somebody said, we you know, you've been playing for 2 hours. We love it, but we have to go home. Yeah, we have homes to go to. Yeah, exactly. Stop so we can go home so we don't miss the last bus. You know, and you could do that. And you know, so yeah, Lifetime is the first actual Rollins Band record. Right. And I think it's good. It's a little bit frenzied, but you know, a lot of a lot of the way we worked was, you know, that was written while we were rehearsing for tour in Europe. And then we went out and played it as new material for 10 weeks across Europe, and then went in the studio with Ian. So by the time, you know, it's been forged, you know, it's been smelted by the time it gets to the studio. And yeah, I mean, it's. Well, but then also, yeah, like they're songs that live and breathe, right? And some of them even, like, you know, slow down a little bit, maybe. Well, some of them slow down a lot, and that was down. I mean, when I listened to it, like the studio version of "Burn Beyond Recognition." Yeah, it's like a different song almost. It is. It sounds like something off of Red. I mean, because that was the other, you know, Red, Starless, and Bible Black, and Lark's Tongue and Aspect are like, you know. You just literally named all my favorite King Crimson records. By well, exactly. Again, well, there are different eras, right? But that flat five distorted thing, right? You get more of that when the tempo of Rollins Band, right? And when the tempo isn't as breakneck, like you get
that nuance.
But you listen, but I mean, if you put on one more Red Nightmare and then put on Burn Beyond Recognition, they almost map. I mean, the melodies and the riffs aren't the same, but that's the aesthetic that was in our minds at that point. Right. But that song slowed down. You listen to like bootleg versions of that from like 1990.
Yeah.
No, it's instead of being da-na-na, da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na, and this is down to Andrew, and he was right. I mean, he was like he slowed everything down always, right, and just got slower and slower. And most of the time it worked, but
Well, and there's a tradition for it, Flipper, Melvins.
I don't know if Flipper could have played slower.
I don't think it would be possible. Yeah,
I haven't seen the last iteration, but
no, it's about the same. And it's uniquely them too. And
it's funny because being 62, I've reached the hey kid, you young kids, get off my lawn era of music taste.
Yeah,
nothing that's happened in the last 40 years can be any good. Blah blah blah. But I did. Some kids were playing me something. I can't remember what it was. And after a certain age, there's a disease where everything sounds like something else you already heard or a band.
Right. Oh, that sounds like this, and this.
But
yeah.
I played. These kids were playing me like some angry young people's band. And I played them. I played them "Brainwashed" by Flipper.
Nice.
They were like, okay, you win.
Yeah, because there's nothing that sounds like it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's they're uniquely themselves.
But that's something else that it's really weird, right? I remember it's like almost like that stuff didn't happen. It's like when I listen to, because right now I'm in DC at the moment, and I've got a rental car, right? And I'm flipping around the radio stations. I go, DC's alternative radio, right? And all the music I'm hearing sounds like Nirvana.
Yeah, but
right? I mean, it's like this is not alternative. It was alternative kind of when they did it, but and I'm not knocking. But what I mean is that when I try and tell people the environment that the Rollins Band was playing in.
It wasn't safe. It wasn't safe music.
For one thing, it wasn't safe, and also it was much more diverse. Can you? I know they're still playing now, but can you imagine a band like the Swans starting now?
Oh my God, yeah.
Or Neubauten,
yeah.
Or Test Department, or Flipper, or whomever, or Sonic Youth, right? There's a whole iteration of Sonic Youth copycats.
Oh yeah, like the children of Sonic Youth, and not the
exactly.
Children, but the children.
But again, I think that there are genres. There's a genre for a while. There was a genre of people that were not Jeff Buckley, and then there was a genre of people that were not Nirvana. There's a genre of people that were not Sonic Youth. But it's like when I try and tell people, we went to Europe and we made money, and we played new material, and we didn't have a single. They're like, what? Well, it's like it went away. That whole 1982 to 1992
just disappeared. Yeah, and to think you had bands like Sonic Youth. I mean, because for me that evil sister era is I was like, oh my God, amazing. And I celebrate the entire catalog, but it's really that's wow, there was nothing that sounded like that. So of course people would want to emulate it. But there's also Laughing Hyenas and Detroit and Bikini Kill, and none of these bands sounded
exactly
like each other.
And what's weird is that like I say, it's more that when I loved luxury. When I was young, right? I knew about Muddy Waters. Because I have an older brother who listens to the Rolling Stones, and because he listened to the Rolling Stones, we listened to Muddy Waters, right? I knew who Robert Johnson was because
Howlin' Wolf, all of them. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And it's now it's like it just there's no. Yeah, everything is risen from the sea on the half shell. There's no history. And
you're right. It's ahistorical, right? Everything everything is happening in constant present tense, and people are not engaging with things with the cultural context that it came up with, which is interesting. But they're also not being given the history of where it came from either, which leads to some staggering conclusions and rehabilitation of things that frankly never should have been rehabilitated.
Well, exactly. Or you get people like. Well, this is again. I will bag on this a little bit. It's like when I heard Wolf Mother, right?
Oh God.
He'll go, well, no, he'll going, oh, they really rock. I'm like, well, yeah, they sound like us. They sound like Vanilla Fudge. I mean, which isn't bad. But it's not original,
it's just. Have you heard those records? Because
I mean,
exactly.
Well, the notion of aesthetically pleasing recycling, that's now enough. There's a kind of like there's a conceit to that, and I think what I know when I noticed the change, where I think this kind of way of consuming music and the attitude toward the place of music in people's lives changed.
Yeah,
because it has changed, obviously, in times with the advent of AM radio, and then the advent of college radio, right, and then the advent of like alternative radio, right, and then things change. And what I started to notice, and this builds on the thing about being able to play 2 hours of new material for an audience, is that started to change as MTV became more ubiquitous, right? I think that's I map it to that because I noticed it around that time,
and now people would just film it on their phone. It's up on the internet, and now it's old, and it's the first time it's ever been played.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's one thing, and that's part. But also notice the attention span of the audience. They wanted to hear what was familiar instead of what was new, and their patience and tolerance. Which is why you always had to play your single as the encore, right? Otherwise people
wouldn't stick around.
They might stay, they might not. But it was more like it was just really.
Look, Gun and Mouth Blues is like 9 minutes long, man.
Yeah, exactly, right? And we did an encore jam, which is based around "Move Right In," the Velvet Underground song, but we played it as a funk song, and that was like 25 minutes.
Right.
But, no, but I mean, it's like. Because people there is a kind of herd mentality. People, I mean, you listen to music you like, but you also listen to the music that you think the person you want to sleep with likes, right? So there's there's a herd thing about how we consume. What's the place of music? It's like like the days of like, come on, come over. I've got a bong. Let's listen to Dark Side of the Moon. Right. This is the way turned into. Hey, check out this 3-minute song, and you're like, oh, we only listen to 3-minute songs, and I feel like the way people started to, the way their attitude toward what music was in their lives became even more commodified. I mean, obviously the music industry is already commodified and selling you things, but
the importance of it shifted. It changed, and it became easier to be a quote unquote expert on things rather than having to be like a true nerd that.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. I mean, it's like, I'll give, here's, for my next non sequitur, I'll tell you something I thought was really cool, which is like, I got friends whose kids are Swifties, right?
Okay, sure. Yeah.
And they remind me of Deadheads. They're sincerely, I wouldn't know a Taylor Swift song if I stepped in it.
Hard tame. Yeah.
But the fans, like, they go to the gigs, they swap their bracelets, they know it's community. Gonna be a good vibe. They totally remind me of Deadheads. And I think that's fantastic. Yeah. Right? I don't give a shit what the music's like.
Look, it's not my thing, but there's plenty of stuff that's not my thing. Good on them.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, but it was nice. It was really refreshing to encounter that, even though it was a bit of a surprise. But I was like, because again, at that point, it's not just about the one song and the T-shirt. It's about the experience of being there with the other fans. And
whatever. It's not just what she does, but it's how everybody reacts to it, engages with it, how everybody gets to have like a home in the music for a while. Right?
I remember I read somewhere. I think it's true that she actually because like when she plays in a city, it affects the entire metropolitan economy, right?
Can I tell you, I was coming back from LA from recording.
Yep.
And I ended up on a plane full of people coming from the Taylor Swift concert that were, and like I was here, like it was like, it affected traffic patterns. Like it affected, like it was.
No, but I'll tell you something that I read that was cool, at least in the UK, and I think she probably does it elsewhere. Every city she played in the UK, she funded food banks for a year.
Wow. Oh, really? I didn't know that. That's awesome.
And I was like, I think it was in The Guardian. Somebody pointed out, I was like, Taylor Swift has done more for like the city of Liverpool than the Tory government have done for the last 12 years.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Step it up.
I was like, damn, so that's cool. So, hats off to Taylor Swift
Yeah.
But as for the rest of the young people listening to music, to hell with you. Get off my lawn. No, but you definitely, I mean, and this
there's
is
a lot more of everything. There's a lot more mediocrity than anything else, like always, right?
But the internet was supposed to be the great leveler. It was supposed to be the great.
Unfortunately, it was
democratizer. And I think, what happened is, and I think it accelerated the phenomenon I was already talking about, which is that the way people consume music and the way they see a place for music in their lives is now as a lifestyle accessory. It was, it used to be like a lifestyle essential, right?
Right.
The girl you want to be with listens to Pink Floyd, so all of a sudden you buy a Pink Floyd. Okay, that's legit, but at least it's a long-term thing,
right?
But now, it seems that the place of music in the way, at least I judge it from the way it's marketed, is, like I say, almost as a soundtrack accessory for your beard. I mean, it's for your hair care product. It's what goes with you, what you play while you're grooming. But
even music of weight and importance is treated with breeziness.
Well,
in a way.
That's it. And I mean,
which is insulting if it's something you live and love, right?
It's insulting to us, but
exactly.
but I mean, in some ways, maybe that's just you remember at one point, the Broadway musical was the dominant aesthetic form in America. That was the big thing, and movies of musicals were the big thing.
Absolutely.
And then it changed to something else. So we had FM rock, that was one. But what I think is a shame is that it mediates, it creates a gap between the idea that music is actually supposed to genuinely move you, right?
Right.
It's like it
not
might
not an adornment.
But people don't begin from that point. And again, I'm 62. I'm an old guy, right?
No.
And I'm not saying that people out there aren't making. People are always making amazing music. People are always moved by music for themselves. But it seems now that what's happened is instead of the great democratization, what you've had is this atomization, right?
Yeah, it's balkanized. Sure.
Everything is so hard. There's so much of everything that the only way to find your way through it is through the algorithm.
Well,
help me find what I already like.
Exactly. And it's always gonna go for pushing whatever content, because again, that's what it is. It's not art. It's content.
That's exactly the rub, right? It's like it's not content. It's music. Yeah. I mean, but again, one of my inventions that is yet to be implemented, which I don't have Spotify. I just can't stand Daniel Ek. And I don't stream music anyway in general, not on principle, but if I really want something, I buy it from like the Apple Store or whatever.
Sure.
But I want somebody to implement an algorithm that finds music that's completely antithetical to everything you've already listened to.
I love that.
I mean, it would, because otherwise you're not going, if you like that, you might like this. Well, if you like that, you probably never heard this, right?
I would have never heard of Captain Beefheart if I hadn't had some freak hippie would be like, oh, you like that? Oh, you love Captain Beefheart. I'm like, that's a stupid name. And then I listen to it. I'm like, oh my God, this is.
Yeah. But that's it. I mean,
it's crazy.
I don't know. Maybe the word of mouth thing happens on TikTok. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm the wrong guy, but it just seems to me that the entire.
So there's aspects of it that are like people like playlist culture, right?
Yeah.
That's something that's wonderful, and that's the same principle that you're talking about, like
mixtapes.
Mixtapes, freaks doing college radio, niche shows, stuff like that. People like that are passionate about the things that they're passionate about and are trying to share it with other people. That still exists, but it is the exception, unfortunately, not the rule.
Or that you do feel like, ooh, I found a really cool podcast.
Yeah.
Again, if it's like when you found the one record in the record store, it feels kind of unique and lonely. I mean,
you're like,
not your podcast.
Oh, of course. Well, mine is, of course, not this one. Yeah, this one's great. But yeah, like to the point that I used to just go into the record store even before I worked at one and just be like, oh, that record cover looks cool. I wonder what this sounds like.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
All the time. And like now it's like there's this little like postage stamp size thing that like, okay, what is that? I can kind of make out a picture.
That's one of the things. But it's interesting because like now, when I do gigs, right, I'm having to, you know, I'm working on like 3 records at once, and I'm going to do vinyl.
Right.
That's the only thing anybody buys, and part of it is because it's tangible.
It's a tactile representation.
Nobody wants CDs anymore, but you know, and also, I mean, one of the things I do include on whenever I put out anything, the last thing I put out actually was a cassette. But I put in a little card, and it just says, you know, if you like this and you want to share it with somebody who you think would like it, do me a favor. Do not post it randomly on the internet. Make an effort. Physically copy it onto them. Even if it's a USB stick that you physically give or mail to somebody, make a tangible gift of this.
Because it changes the stakes when there's a tactile concern with it, right?
There is.
It's a real thing.
And also a personal contact.
I think you would like this. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
you know, not like here's the thing, spread the word. Cool, I won't.
Yeah. Yeah, but then at least, because it's also a different kind of social engagement, it's a different social interaction. It's personal, right? Whereas, you know, and and so like, you know, and the same with vinyl, you want something, you know, you want the CD was almost the death of artwork. But the nice thing about doing vinyl,
exactly, we had had it good then.
I like to do vinyl and then do inserts. You know, remember like Sgt. Pepper's had like the mustache and the
man.
Yeah, exactly. Put fun and stickers.
Well, and there's something nice too about disconnecting from the internet for a little while to engage with something with some music that you are love or interested in. No, I'm all about it, and I'm happy to, you know, if I really like a band, that's what I'm gonna buy. You know?
Yeah, and also, I mean, you know, you do remember that's, you know, the T-shirt is probably what's putting gas in their tank.
Almost
always.
Know, 'cause
it's not going to be the floor price.
Right, exactly. No, but and there's a lot of things to discuss just with that. But I think you're onto something. But I think that what is incumbent upon everyone is to become the megaphone, right? To really shout out the stuff you love. Every year for this show, I put out a playlist on like all of the things that you do playlist on, which are just like, these are my favorite, you know, it'll be 24 songs this year because it's 2024.
Yeah, okay.
and then it's like what I've had, and it's such a pain in the ass, and I hate it until it's done, and then I love it. But every year there's a bunch of people like, hey man, I found out about, you know, this awesome artist because of this. Thank you so much for doing that. Okay, that valid. Even if one person like finds it, I'm like, okay, all of that was worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, again,
and not like I'm like the Klotman Diamond or anything. I'm just saying.
No.
You know,
I mean, it's like, you know, there are still people out there putting out, you know, doing like Jack Rabbit, right? It's still, you know, Takeover is like one of the few islands still out there. You know,
people don't even understand what a zine is anymore, and like Jack Rabbit is still doing it. You know, good on him. It's awesome.
Because nobody has a Xerox machine,
right?
No, but I feel like it's like the last scene of Beau Geste. You know, we're all propping up the fake soldiers. You know.
Well, but it's also. There's soft support too, and this is a larger conversation because just with this show, you know, it experienced a surge of popularity in when COVID hit, right?
Yeah.
By the fact, in the case that like the audience, almost factor of 5,000, 7,000%, like engaged, and the reason why people that were like, oh, I don't have time for podcasts. It's like, oh, you got time now, don't you?
Yeah. Exactly.
But it worked. It only worked because the art was there. The catalog was there. What I like about this format, it's always there. It's waiting for you whenever you're ready for it. You know,
which is cool. Yeah, like I mean, I don't actually have time for podcasts because you can't. But no, there's like one BBC podcast that I do listen to because it's my good, because there's like 1,000 episodes.
Right. Well, sure.
And it's like, it doesn't matter which one. I'm dry.
You're just gonna throw it on.
I don't care what it is. Like, but there's like, it's like a steady. You know.
Can I tell you, Chris? I feel like it is one of the few mediums that is still got, like, it hasn't been completely defrontierified, which is
but you know what happened is, you know, one of the things that happened with the internet in general is it became
walled gardens.
Well, really? It became not just walled garden. It became the television model, where it became commercial driven, right? I mean, this is like, you don't have ads. You rely on people actually making donations, right?
Correct.
But you're the minority, and people should donate. They should be supporting you, because think about it this way: everything else, and I try and explain this to like 18-year-olds I meet, like this, like people are the commodification. The commodity here is your data, right? People are trying, and the entire focus of the internet. No, I take back. The entire focus of the web has been funneled down to find a way to more effectively advertise commercial products for you.
Right. Because if you're not paying for a product, you are the product.
Exactly. And, and that's sort of where music went. It's where, and it didn't have to be this way. I mean,
like your new record is going to be in direct competition, not just with records that came out that week, but records that came out in the 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, and also some guy that just puts up TikTok videos of reflooring his house.
Yeah, exactly. and you're competing for attention. But what I mean is like it's like, part of despair sometimes. You kind of go, does it always have to come down to commercials? I mean,
right? Because there was a time where the internet was not like that.
Exactly.
Great. And it's so depressing to talk to really young folks where they don't even know those times.
No, exactly.
It's like, no, it wasn't always a mini mall, man. I swear.
Yeah, exactly. I just like, and they always like accept all cookies. Yeah, and exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever.
My phrase is proceed to content. Oh man. And the idea that this is what makes me into a dinosaur. The idea that the World Wide Web and the internet doesn't naturally follow this TV commercial model, because that's essentially what it is, and music went that way, right?
Just because you brought it up, and I actually did a pretty good podcast with Steve Albini, R.I.P., about it, and my decision to. Basically, I put up the Patreon because, like, at one point I was like, okay, tours canceled, got laid off from the day job. I'm sitting here staring at the wall, being like, what can I do? I mean, it literally paid the rent. You know what I mean? And but I still was like, no, I don't begrudge people for putting ads and things on there. Great, do you. But I skip them every goddamn time, and I won't do that. That is not what this show is.
It's not even that. What I begrudge, not begrudge is the wrong word, is when the search engine is able to determine which ad you should see.
Promoted results.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of scary. I mean, it works. It's kind of scary. So if I have to promote something on Facebook, the level of granularity of people in the Sydney area who like dogs and eat mustard, it's like, whoa.
And had blueberries in their cereal that morning. Wow,
yeah, exactly.
Jesus Christ.
It's scary. I didn't know you could do that until this year. I was like, wow.
And that's just, the Rubicon was crossed with the Patriot Act.
Well, even down in Australia, if I winnow it down to people that like Jeff Beck and King Crimson and are going out on Friday night, and it's one guy, right?
It's just one dude.
It's one dude, and his dog. But actually, Albini was I would make an aside with him because I only met him once, and I really, really regret not meeting him under other circumstances because. I met him once, and he went out of his way to make sure I understood how unpleasant he was being. Right, which is, I looked up, I went through my journals, like, that's what he said, I'm like, yeah, man, it's like, you could have just said, come back later, but and I really
he definitely mellowed out in recent years.
Even before that, we had a lot of mutual friends which I'm like, Steve's so nice, and I really, really, because he was such a great voice and such, I really admire everything he did. I admire almost everything he said, with the exception of some of the things he said about Kim Gordon, but whatever, there were some things that could have gone and I know he
even regretted some of those
things with
things
himself, and that's even more fantastic because most people never do that. But I really wish I could have met. I wish we could have been friends. I wish I could have got to know him because, like I say, now in the same way that you miss Christopher Hitchens. I don't know if you ever read.
Sure. Oh no, yeah, Hitchens.
Right.
I mean, yeah,
But
absolutely.
Christopher Hitchens is really awesome. Yes, he wrote that essay about women not being funny.
Right. Did I agree with everything he ever said?
No,
of
exactly.
course
And
not.
it's the same with Albini. You really,
Yeah.
really regret that voice not being here anymore. On top of just all the fantastic music he made and produced. So,
And it's also the rare case, and I don't, that he came on this very show. I asked him about about reckoning with the band name Rape Man,
Yeah.
and he said flat out, "I have not been held to account for that."
no.
And that blew my mind because how often do you hear people backpedal? Oh well, culture is
No, and also how many
blah
people
blah
have the
blah,
honesty to demonstrate the self-awareness of that.
and just to be like, I was wrong.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And it
yeah.
was like, God damn, nobody does that. Nobody does that, and.
Yeah.
It just made me respect him all the more. Again, do I agree with everything he's ever said? No,
Yeah.
of course not.
No, like I said, I have nothing. I had nothing but respect for him, which is why I always regretted the idea that he just thought I was a dick.
Right.
I was like, Dave Albini thinks I'm a dick because he was such a dick to me.
right. Well, yeah, it's again respect.
But that's the kind of voice that you really want in this discussion about what music is about and how music should be made,
Yeah.
and the role that I don't think there is not the industry. There are many industries, but the
world of making music, we'll say.
the world of
right?
making music, it has a general trajectory which comes from a lot of different forces acting together, and most of them act toward commercialization and.
Look at that problem with music essay he did, which was like an essay
Yeah.
for like what, the Baffler, I think, right? And then like
I don't know where it was originally. I mean,
it will never die.
No, and nor should it.
Nor should it, exactly.
And he's still right.
Yeah, and it's still more. It's still like maybe 90%.
But again, it was a difficult. I mean, this guy steering this back a little bit. I remember like his. He was pretty incensed, I think, when Sonic Youth signed to Geffen, and
he was. Yeah,
and I think it was a little bit unfair, but he was right for the wrong reasons. And the same thing sort of happened with us with Rollins Band. It's like,
right.
All of a sudden there had to be a single, and there had to be a video, right? And I'll give hats off to Imago Records. I mean, they put out a record in which none of the songs were under 6 minutes. They gave us that. But there was one song which I remember hearing the advanced cassette after it was done.
Yeah.
And I remember going, wait a minute, this is wrong. They cut out an entire verse and chorus. The whole first verse of I think it's Another Life is gone. They took the song down like under 6 minutes, or something like that.
Wow.
But again, it was also different. But when we went back out to tour on End of Silence, the audience was different. And now we're playing radio festivals, right?
Right. And that's something that is so interesting to me because, again, there's a confluence of different things happening at the time, right? They call it, the year punk broke. That was the first Lollapalooza year, right? I recently watched that there's like a streaming content thing about it. I was like, you know what? This has been long enough. I guess I wouldn't mind watching this. My wife's younger than me. She's like, she didn't live through it. So I was like, oh yeah, this will be good. Then it will get fucking terrible. Just so you know.
I don't know if it got terrible. I mean, it's kind of a victim of its
like
own.
the last 10, 15 years are not to my sensibilities.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
that
I mean,
what
again,
will say?
I mean, to be fair, it seems like since they moved it to the one-off in Chicago, it's gotten better again.
Yeah.
I mean, I give nothing but credit to Harry and whoever's running it at this point.
It was fascinating to see the story of it and to see it come from such inauspicious beginnings and also just like having it be this collection of freak nerds and weirdos.
Well, that was
More or
it.
less,
I mean,
right?
it's funny because like one of the things I'm doing here in DC is I'm collecting all my stuff to ship it down to Australia, including all of my photos. I was shooting 4 rolls of film a day on Lollapalooza.
Oh my God.
So I've got there's actually a book about Lollapalooza coming out. They've got all my photos of Gibby storming the Banshees stage while they were playing, and but it was a great idea,
Yeah.
But the thing is, and this is something else that's kind of happened, is the idea of the rock festival, and this is very true in Australia, has become a thing unto itself.
It has.
Right? You're going to a festival. You don't necessarily know who's playing, but we're going.
Who's playing doesn't matter. We're going to the thing
because the this is along with the other thing that goes hand in hand with the word content is the word brand. Yeah. Right. So Reading now has a brand. Glastonbury is a brand, and I'm not bagging on the people that run it, but the thing is, in the public mind, it has a different. The brand itself is now to be consumed as opposed to going to Glastonbury to see Steve Hillage play.
Right.
You're going. I'm doing Glastonbury this year, and it becomes the product is the event itself rather than the music,
the individual thing.
And I think Lollapalooza kind of fell victim to that a little bit, not because of its own doing, not because it wasn't well curated, not because it wasn't well planned, but because the attitude of the people going. It's like, I'm going to do Lollapalooza this year.
And culture kind of processed what it was, maybe. And the thing is, it's just like with art, you don't get to choose people's reaction to the art, right?
No, exactly. That's it. And you can only steer it so far. I mean, look at the difference between. Look at Woodstock '99 compared to Woodstock 94 was already kind of weird. Yeah. But Woodstock '99, it had become it had taken on a momentum. The idea of the festival took on a momentum unrelated to what the actual participants and organizers were doing.
Right.
That's part of the reason it ended up in chaos, but not all of it. Yeah. And I think that's weird. Like I said, there's a. This speaks to what we were saying earlier about the way people, the role that music plays in people's lives, and it's partially because their attention is so much more in demand. I mean, when I don't know how old you are, but when I was listening to radio as a teenager, there wasn't anything else to do really much.
I grew up in I live in Milwaukee. I'm from Oakland, California, but I grew up in a town called Modesto, which is from the part of California that has more in common with Kansas than San Francisco.
Yeah. Modesto, you have tomatoes, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's our. Do you like agriculture? No. Okay, well, screw you.
It's like Cesar Chavez territory, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like Steinbeck of Mice and Men. But don't worry, there's some casual racism and casual sexism.
It's probably professional by now.
But the radio was like a lifeline of oh wow, here's I could hear a band like Rollins Band. I remember very, very well when I first heard Into the Silence, and I was like, whoa, what's this? And then I was like, oh, it's the guy from Black Flags Band? And it's crazy for kids today who are so clued in to think about it. Information just didn't travel that fast.
No, it didn't, but also I think, to me, part of what's different isn't just about the information. It's about the amount of time you spend with yourself. This is one of the things about the ubiquity of. And again, this is now I'm hey kid, get off my lawn. But no, I think the way we are now engaged with information and content pretty much all the time, really alters the way we think about ourselves. It sounds trite, but you don't spend that much time just being bored. You don't spend that much time. Right. Waiting for your radio show that you want to listen to, or waiting for the movie on TV. I gotta get my drink before it's going to start in 5 minutes. You know what I mean?
I might miss it.
I don't necessarily. Yes, it's more inconvenient, but the point is that the way you are engaging with it from just in yourself is different, and I think that translates to the way people listen to music. My gauge for vinyl, right? So I've still got a turntable. Yeah. My kids are going to have a future job as curators of museum of antiquities because they can use a dial phone and turn a record over without putting their hands on it. But my I still buy vinyl a little bit, but my kind of gateway for whether I'm going to buy it or not is if I put it on the turntable. Am I still excited when I'm waiting?
Right.
The needle hits it down. I'm waiting for it to start. Does it make it go? And the number of records that did that was less than 20, really. So it's what am I excited? Still, even now, 62. I put on Nevermind the Bollocks. I'm waiting for those I'm waiting for those stomping feet.
And then like the 27 guitars come in.
First 3 Clash records, the Ruts album.
Oh yeah.
Bitches Brew, honestly, and some of the Mahavishnu records, Red by King Crimson. Yeah. But most of the stuff I don't need that. But my question to myself was like, how do I feel? Do I still get excited with that moment in myself?
Right.
Whereas now it's like, if you want to listen to anything, you can listen to anything you want, anytime, anywhere. You don't have to wait for the John Peel show to start with your finger on the pause button of your cassette deck to hear the new fall song. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's really cool in one way, but in another way, it comes at a cost.
Well, and people engage with things differently, because some people still do like that long form experience, and some people, they want the fire hose because they feel like whatever bit that they get out of it, they'll get out of it. But I'm still someone that, again, I'll when I throw something on, I usually will throw on the record. And sequencing is so important. And I talk about End of the Silence. Low Self Opinion's great. That's a great opening song.
I don't knock it. I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to just like go on the internet and listen to.
No. But this is a different experience.
There's no. You and I have a contrast, right?
Right. Yeah,
and you've got that depth of knowledge of like what it was like to wait for something. And
to appreciate it because
and have that.
Oh my God! There's a new a new Fugazi record.
Yeah.
What is that going to sound like? I bet it's great.
Yeah, exactly. And so
amazing.
I mean, it's not. So I think what's missing is the experience of the contrast, the experience of the wait. I think adds value. It adds. It makes you engage with whether it's a painting or a film or a piece of music, whatever. There's the anticipation of it and the necessity to be patient.
Right.
Add something which it enriches your engagement with it. And sure, being able to simply listen to it or look at it or hear it whenever you want is great, but it's richer if you've had to wait for it a little.
Yeah,
bit.
You're not putting on while you mop the floor. You're like this is like a sacrament, like a holy ritual kind of.
You have to do something.
Yeah, you have to take an action. You have to
participate.
Yeah,
and the other thing is, it's a little bit is like it kind of blurs because the act of wanting to watch a movie, and the act of wanting to listen to a song, and the act of wanting to look at a photograph are all the same thing now. You know what I mean? It's like they're all. Yeah. It's all ones and zeros, and I got nothing against digital media, but what I'm saying is like it homogenizes what you're doing. So what you're actually doing is simply engaging with the mouse or trackpad on your device.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's really convenient, but there's another side to it. There's another depth that's missing to add contrast, to add richness to the.
It changes the experience.
It changes the experience.
Yeah, and yeah, I completely agree with you. And it's I think that's a cultural reckoning that I don't see a good end to it right now, because it's people are not meant
for backlash, but
people are not meant to engage with everything.
No,
all the time.
But it is.
Our brains are not
funny
wired
to
that way.
see how vinyl has skyrocketed.
Oh yeah.
I mean, but at the same time, it's up to, oh my gosh, that's so retro.
No, but it isn't like a kitschy thing. People want the tactile object.
Yeah, they do, and they like the sound of something that's
And does it sound better? No, in fact,
it sounds different.
It sounds different, but especially for like rock music, the type of compression, the type of way it sounds worse makes the music sound more like an experience that you would want to have.
And also you have to put bass in mono again. Right. That was one of the cool thing with digitals. You could do true stereo bass, but now I'm just gobsmacked. It's the same with the guitar market. I mean, all the guitars that pawn shops couldn't give away when I was
are
like going for like, hey, you want to buy a Teisco for $4,000?
Yeah.
No, it was
I got mine for $200. You kidding me? Yeah,
it's a Hondo too. Like,
yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, this weird fetish for
early '90s. You couldn't give away a Travis bean. Now it's like for $8,000.
Well, I've never made friends with one, but at least like I said, it works for Dwayne Dennison, and it worked for Steve Albini.
They're great. They're just very heavy.
But it's that same thing where things become like nationals. Like it's like it's cool. Look, I don't care what it is, as long as you're making something cool with it. But there's this kind of fetishized idea that like it's old. It must sound like something did back then. It's like no, it's garbage back then. It's garbage now, and you just paid $2,000 for it. It's like, no, and I feel that's sort of
it's like
vintage. That mediation where the thing has become again. This is who is it? Is it what's his name? Society of the Spectacle, Guy Debord, right?
Oh, right. Sure.
Yeah, okay, it's like or like all those French guys, like
they would have really insufferable Twitter accounts these days.
Yeah, well, I bet but what I mean, it's more like it's it's mostly unreadable. I found that like Society of the Spectacle is about 20% genius, 30% gobbledygook, and 50% just complete nonsense.
Oh,
right? It's just
crap.
like meaningless.
Absolutely.
But the 20%.
It's great.
It's spectacular. But again, it's this thing where people mistake the menu for the food, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's right. This menu says hamburger on it. I'll eat it, and it's a bit like I'll buy the retro. I want the thing that has the retro cachet value because it'll give me a retro sound. Like, no.
That's not how that works.
That's how I feel about Skylar Beards as well, actually. But it's like. Anyhow,
can you tell me about Jah Wobble? Playing with Jah Wobble.
I'd love to tell you about Jah Wobble. Jah Wobble is
great player,
awesome musician. I had the privilege of playing with Jah Wobble on one song. I got in touch with again. It was kind of when I lived in England. I was kind of always looking for. I showed up at Susie and Sue's house once.
Nice.
No, I mean just like she's like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Does it look like a normal house or like what was? I mean,
no, I used to just contact people. And I got Wobble's number. I don't remember from whom. And I called him up. I think this is when he was working. I think he was working as an underground driver for London Underground.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
Anyway, I went around to his place and I played him some of the stuff I was working on. And he said, like, this is cool. Can you meet me at the studio tomorrow? I've got something we could do. I'm like, yeah. And then he said, can you get me a bass? I don't know where he could his bass was somewhere. So I trekked down to Southern Studios, and we worked on one song. And it was just like, oh my God, I'm playing with Jah Wobble. Make it sound more Egyptian, Yeah, I know what you mean.
Sure.
Sure. But no, I mean, I played one song called Hymns on an album called Psalms. I don't think it's a particularly good record. About half of it is really good. But what's really funny is that while I was working, so Southern Studios is where it's John Loder's place, and it was where Ian was making Palehead at exactly the same time.
Okay, awesome.
And so I don't remember. I think I must have run into him there, or at least I heard he was there. But no,
what a wild pairing of creative entities, by the way. Can I just say
that?
it? What a wild pairing of creative entities that is. He was working with Adrian Sherwood, which is like I wouldn't have seen that. Who's another one of my heroes. But no, Wobble, I gotta say, we interact through intermediaries, because I haven't seen him for a very long time. I was hoping to go see him, but I don't know if you've ever heard the Damage Manual stuff. I love it. I had Atkins on the show a couple of years ago. We talked about it.
Yep, that was. I love those records. I love everybody on those records. And I went down to. They were supposed to play Wetlands in New York when I was living in New York. I went down there and I was like, I'm going to see I'm going to see Wobble. And he just either hadn't got. He said no, or he hadn't gotten his visa. And Charles Levi from Thrill Kill was playing. I mean, it was nice to see everybody, but I was like,
sure, of course, but yeah.
So I mostly like send him messages on Facebook and stuff. And it looks like the stuff he's doing with his kids looks really cool. Really,
I was seeing that. Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Okay. Well, contact him. I mean,
sure.
But no, I haven't seen him for a long time.
Can I tell you? I actually was gonna have Levine on.
Okay.
But it would then.
So he was in Florida, right?
He ghosted me, and
Right.
then like it was shortly thereafter that he.
Yes, I don't.
went south with
That's
it.
well, that's a whole other. I don't know what that, because I got contacted by. I don't know if it's his manager or his partner or she was both.
Yeah.
It was all kind of weird and could have been sketchy. So I didn't know, it was
Right.
sort of,
Yeah. No,
it
totally.
was sort of maybe from him, maybe from her, but I was never quite clear. So about Keith Levine. I mean, again, like, Second Edition is another one of those records. Like, I still get chills putting that on.
Nothing
and the guitar
sounds
playing,
like that dude, man. Nothing.
yeah,
you know?
nothing exactly. And Second Edition is much more. I mean, the first Public Image record is
Great,
great.
right.
So,
Yeah.
but Second Edition, that's like Sgt. Pepper's, right? But with Wobble, right? That the same thing. It's like the guy is just got. I don't know it's a lucky accident that he started playing music with Lydon, right?
Yeah.
Because he's just got it. He's just got that thing. The Invaders of the Heart stuff. I'm not so big on vocal music, but again, it's just like the musicality of it. You can't mess with.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And no, I mean, he was
a unique, a great player, great feel, great technique, and like a voice, right?
And also just a total natural.
Yeah,
I mean, he started playing bass quite late, and he really also had that genuine Sly and Robbie thing. I mean, he's got that genuine dub thing without trying to fake it. He's got that feel thing. So I was really lucky to play on that. Just a lovely guy. Again, that was like 2 days. That was like a 2-day experience.
That's pretty amazing 2 days.
Huh?
A pretty amazing 2 days, though.
It was, like I remember. I think I was carrying instruments that didn't even have gig bags on the public transport. Just
loose.
You ever see that picture of the Ramones going to a gig where they got
a
guitar in a shopping bag? It was like that.
Fantastic. No notes.
And I've been lucky to get to do some really cool stuff.
Like Reeves, right? Like when you
Gabrels, absolutely. So. And Reeves, I mean, the coolest stuff I've ever done with Reeves. I mean, this is good. I first met Reeves and Bowie at some festival in Finland, I think it was, and it was summer, so everybody stayed up till 3 a.m. because the sun was still out. But no, but anyway, we showed up and like, oh my God, Bowie's playing, and we're going to our dressing room. Oh my God, there he is, right? And so it's typical. We're like. This is me, right? That's David Bowie. Holy shit, that's Reeves Gabrels.
Right, you're more.
Well, David Bowie, that's pretty cool. But
cool. But
that was where I first met him. And when we were both in New York, we did some duet gigs together actually. In some of the local, just completely improvised, ambient, and that was really cool. I don't think we ever recorded those, which was a shame. And and then Reeves got me on my my 1 second with David Bowie, where I played badly on one song, but I mean, again, it was fun. Like, people go, "Oh, you played with Bowie?" I'm like, "Well, not really," but he taught me how to use eBay. So then that turned into like it's like the oh my God, you played on the Tool record.
Right. Yeah.
No, I didn't. I fired a shotgun at a piano and hit it with a sledgehammer.
Exactly.
And no, because it ends up in playing credits. It's like Tool.
Yeah. Right, because because those guys are they're into doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, which is fine. It's
why Buzz Osborne has a platinum record.
Yeah, well, that's it. But to be fair, the other thing that I standout memory was actually meeting Sylvia Massey, who was producer engineering. She's the mad scientist. She's
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and so with Tool, and Bowie are they're like Harvey the Invisible Rabbit. It's like this thing that follows me around that isn't quite. Yes, I got to play thanks to Reeves on one song on the Hours record, and I did get hired for the tour. That was actually fun, but then the tour didn't happen. Very unfun. And yeah, so I mean, basically the song. So to be fair, I mean, I think Reeves pretty much engineered it, so I would have to play on it, which was nice, very kind of him.
Which he didn't have to do, right? I mean, that was something
He didn't have.
Yeah.
He could have. I mean, basically, he wanted to do a part that was that had irregular retards and stops, so you really had to be. You had to eyeball it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was like, I'm one of those people like, show me a chart with jazz chords and I get dyslexic as to whether the sharp 9 flat 11 comes before the flat 11 sharp 9, and I'm like, oh God, it was one of those like I've got like Sonny Chirac fingers. I remember when I met Sonny Chirac, what I struck was like, oh my God, he's got hands like mine. He's got big hands with really short fingers, right? I don't know how he did
right,
it.
Yeah.
But Reeves went to Berkeley. You go to Berkeley, your fingers grow, right? And it's like, here, the fingering simply this.
It's a yeah, he's great. So, that's all it is, huh? Okay.
I think we did it in 2 takes, and
sounds good.
Just took a hatchet to my part. But Mark Plotty's a great engineer, and to be fair, Reeves could have just overdubbed it, and they could have just fixed it in Pro Tools. Right. But I got to do it, and I actually had to catch a plane later that day. And I was on the plane or something. I just played a session with David Bowie.
Yeah, that's pretty rad, man. Even if it wasn't,
But at the same time, in fairness, when people go, "Oh, you played with David Bowie," I said, "Yeah." You ever heard of Stacey Hayden? And they go, "No." Stacey Hayden was the guitarist on the second half of the entire Station to Station tour.
Exactly.
Paige Hamilton played with David. Right? Yeah, I got to play on a song with David. So I'm not.
I had Paige on this show, and Crover was good enough to feed me the prompt for the Hangover Hamilton story, which is still one of my favorite clips of all time because he told the entire amazing. I'm not big into clip culture. In fact, for years I wouldn't allow it, but I was like, that's got to be a clip. That's amazing. Come on, how was that not going to be? I've also had Visconti on the show.
Oh wow,
which was pretty great.
I'll bet.
I'm not gonna lie.
No, that's amazing.
I was like, what, really?
It's up there with the playing with Tool. But to be fair, lots of people played guitar with David.
And there's epochs of time that like he would like, oh, I like this player. I'm gonna have him.
Well, but at the same time, my memories are probably the 2 outstanding memories are like going up to the studio because basically they were recording at Chung King, which is around the corner from where I lived. And they used to kind of say, here, take this DAT and go edit it and bring it back. And it's a little bit. And I came in one day and they were both looking kind of impish. And Dave was like, how'd you like to join the band? I was like, oh, well, let me think about that for a second.
Yes.
So there was this.
Someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes. Yes.
Yeah. So there was 1999 and they were booked to play a festival because remember Millennium Bug. So basically, we were supposed to play at sunrise on January the 1st, year 2000, in somewhere in eastern North Island of New Zealand.
Yeah,
right? With
I remember
Split
this,
Ends and David Keurig to Kanawa. And that was, and then there was going to be some Japan shows and shit like that. And I was going to do backup guitar and some of the digital stuff. I lied and said I could play keyboards. But
sure, yeah. This is like, sure. What is it? Yeah, you got it. Toka? Yeah, I got it. Sousaphone? Vibroslap? Whatever. I got it, yeah.
Nose flute, I can do it. The bagpipes sound great on Rebel.
Yeah,
awesome. But no, anyway, so he hired me for that. And but more to the, but my takeaway actually from that record was actually sitting around. First of all, he literally did show me how to use eBay because he'd be doing vocal takes and he'd have his watch and then he'd run out and do that. He'd have a bid ready to go and just like wait till the last 30 seconds and I got to put a bid on something and then go back and do vocals. He was one of those like eBay vultures who would wait until the last second.
That MFer probably outbid me on some stuff way back when.
Probably. The internet used to be so slow that if you put in your bid, it would take longer for the next person to see it and put in their bid.
Yeah.
And so he was one of those, right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking, man, stop buying small islands and get back to work. And we watched a lot of C-SPAN. I just remember sitting around with Bowie watching C-SPAN.
Wow.
and talk much. And he talked a lot. We talked a lot about. I don't know much about visual art.
Let's see what Trent Lott's up to. Great.
Yeah, no, something's even before that. This is probably like what was the really heinous Republican guy back then? Who really not
Gingrich?
and the guy who came up with the basically the guy who set the MAGA Gingrich snowball. It'll come to me.
You're talking about the strategist guy? Wait, are you talking about I can't think. Anyway, whatever. Doesn't matter.
All the names fall out of my. Anyway, we used to watch C-SPAN, and and we talked a lot about painting. I don't know much. He taught me. He talked to me. We talked a lot about 20th century British art.
Yeah.
Did you tour with Bowie? No, but he taught me how to use eBay. Which is kind of cool. And to be fair, and actually the follow up to that, because I think he felt a bit bad when Reeves, because I was also when Reeves was engineering his departure, and then that didn't go quite as had been planned. So between Reeves leaving and the tour getting canceled, there was a lot of swirl and chaos, and so I wasn't playing anymore. But he sent me some work. He was like. So basically, he said, would you like to work with Thomas Dolby on putting sound on my website? I'm like, what, you mean like BowieNet? He's like, yeah. I'm like, with Thomas Dolby. He's like, yeah, because Dolby was because at that point back, you got to remember, the internet was so slow that you didn't have live audio. So Thomas Dolby was working with a company, and I can't remember what they're called now, who basically would have tiny sound effects.
Right, and embedded in the whatever.
No, he would send us HTML code from it wasn't local. It was which is even weirder. And so it was really cool, and I did it. I mean, it was again. It had to be done. It had to be interactive. So it was like and it had to be like Terry. Terry Riley's in C.
Of course,
right?
Yeah.
So everything has to work with everything else.
Yeah.
So, sound effects. You get some of them were like pads, like synth pads, and some of them were like sound effects, and it all had to tonally work. And the way it was actually really complicated, especially because the software didn't actually work. But to be fair, David did throw me work, and he sent me some effect. Yeah, he sent me. We stayed in touch a little bit, but he moved on. But it was it was special. But at the same time, it's one of my regrets that you almost wish it hadn't happened. Just because you never quite got it,
right? Like, is it better to like come nowhere near it, or to
lost
come like
never loved it all? Yeah,
right.
So it's like, and like I say, it's kind of embarrassing the way it takes on its own life. I mean, like I said, I like the man very much and had a really good time hanging out, but I'm not Earl Slick. I did take a gig once. For doing a corporate thing, just because Earl Slick was going to be part of it. I could come meet Earl Slick,
Yeah.
He's kind of cool. I think he's one of the two most rock star people I've ever met, and I don't mean that in a bad. I mean in the way that, like, when I was 13, the way what I thought rock stars were like.
Right. Yeah.
Him and Dave Navarro, whom I love.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But they were like, they had this natural kind of like, yeah, kid. This kind of not disdain, but like they were just kind of lofty.
Yeah, just above it. Somehow.
Just above it, not even egotistical. It's just they were just there, And so Slick was like that.
That's hilarious. That's pretty awesome. I want to. I mean, I'd be remiss if we didn't at least talk a little bit about the latter Rollins Band stuff. I mean, I think that those records are great, and I think that I actually kind of went back recently, and luckily I don't have to rely on streamers. I have my own catalog, right? And it was like
your 8-track, plug it in.
Exactly. I'm gonna fire up the Victrola
mini disc.
exactly. Yeah. We're gonna get right down to it with this. But End of Silence is a great record. Like, really plays well and does like all the things that I feel like the band did really well.
It's really prog.
It's way prog. It is.
In a lot of ways, it's like it's really funny. Is that, like, in a lot of ways we're kind of like we're like the punk rock analog for Rush, right? No, it's like Rush.
Totally, yeah.
A really great band. The musicianship is really solid. The songs are really hard.
Yeah.
And some people just can't stand the singing. Right? It's like, and that's, that's sort of what we went to with a lot of, it's like, I don't think anybody, I used to meet people that were binary, like, I really like Rollins, but only the spoken word stuff. Right? Or I really like the band, but I just don't like the singing. Like, okay.
Right. Okay,
whatever. And
maybe AI can do that for you.
That record, Andy Wallace did a great job with that. And it was also hilarious because, he mixed Nevermind, right?
That's right.
So I think, Butch Vig did it and they didn't like it. And then Andy Wallace mixed it. And it came out while we were making End of Silence. So like every day that Andy drove to the studio, he just made like another $70,000 overnight.
Yeah.
And we're looking at like the sales numbers like on a daily basis. We're like, why are you even here, man?
The world is like changing underneath your feet.
Yeah, and
planets are being terraformed
each time it does, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But no, that's a really good record. I mean, we did make some good records. Hard Volume was which is earlier than that. Should have been. I mean, it should be a much better record than it is, and that's really Teo produced that under the most awful circumstances. I mean, he did a yeoman's job with it, but we kept on like. Stuff in the studio kept on working, and then they kept on rescheduling. Oh, you need to get out because Charo's coming in. It was just like, it was a nightmare. We literally were recording next door to Charo at one point.
Oh, wow.
But I mean, I love some of the music on that record, but
yeah, it's good.
And some of the songs that were originally meant for that actually ended up on End of Silence. And but I mean, it's funny because like part of what happened with the band. I mean, after End of Silence, Andrew left, and then we were like, when Melvin joined, we're like, okay, we're not going to play any old material.
I remember that, and I remember that being like, wow. Well, at the time, you're like, wow, that's annoying. But then, like, as an artist, it's like, oh, that's bold. That's like,
well, it was also meant
makes sense
as a mark of respect, to Melvin.
And if you're being a viable creative entity,
back in later, but it was more like, no, man, this is, and
right.
I think Wait is the best balanced record.
I think so. So what songs from Wait came first? Like what was the first one of the bunch of those?
I mean, that we recorded? I don't remember.
No, that just like that came as songs. Like again, like
I don't know because I mean. The way we usually used to work was, I'm like a compulsive riff person, and I just sit at home with my Porta Studio and do riffs, and I'd come in with a
track it so you don't forget it,
and we just go through them, and then we would jam on them. If somebody, like people liked it, I was like, let's try this one, and Henry would be sitting on the floor with the yellow legal pad, trying to write, or he'd go, I like that bit, keep that, and we, so basically I was bringing in the ingredients and. We were the restaurant, kind of, let's bake that part. No, fry it. And I think, there's some really great songs. My favorite song on that record, at least to play, was always Disconnect.
Disconnect is, I would say, one of your best songs. For sure.
I think it's one of the more interesting, and also nobody else in the band I really like Fall Guy.
Fall Guy's good, yeah.
But I don't know why, but it just. Nobody else. It's not that even. No, I think it is. They didn't like it. I don't know, but I thought it totally. I think it's actually one of the more better composition songs, aside from just being kind of basic meat and potatoes riff. Because you always want the songs to go somewhere. They've got to do something. Yeah. Everything always starts with a riff or an idea, but it's got to develop into something. I mean, we never do just verse, chorus, bridge, verse, chorus, stop.
But then again, look at Heroin by Velvet Underground, right? Okay.
Right.
That sounds great.
Or
what is that song?
Yeah, whatever. I mean, some people can pull that off. I don't have the patience to play just one thing.
Yeah.
But I always liked Fall Guy. Compositionally, like I said, I think it's one of the most coherent. But at the same time, after Wait, Imago started to what's that?
Oh, I was just gonna say, Liar has to be like the second most least least
Yeah.
likely to be a hit.
I agree. I mean, I was really annoyed when they chose "Liar" to be the lead single, because I think it's a gimmick song in a way. I mean,
right.
If it were to lead first single, it wouldn't be a gimmick song. But if you make it into a first single, that's what it becomes. I thought "Disconnect" would make a much better first single, but that's why I don't run a record company.
But it was a huge hit. So second most, because again, you have to understand, I also was like, oh, this "I Want to Fuck You Like an Animal" song in Nine Inch Nails, that'll never be a hit. Boy, was I wrong. Like,
yeah, it's like,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. But, and well, this is why we don't run record companies.
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
But
it is a good. Don't get me wrong. It's a good song. It's kind of like an outlier almost.
I agree. Yeah, it's not. Right? It's absolutely not typical. And this is exactly talk to Gibby or Paul Leary about Pepper. Right?
Exactly. I know, right?
Yeah. You become a victim of the one hit, and this also goes down back to the way. The industry changed the way people's attention works. So, because that's what it became. People wanted to hear, they want to hear the single and go home.
Right, exactly. And you gotta you don't want to give it to although credit where credit's due. I saw Hum play that Star song like 4 songs in.
Right. Okay.
And then like a bunch of people left, and then and then the crowd was like, okay, now these are the people that actually like Hum that are here.
Yeah. In some ways, maybe it's just get it out of the way early. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought of that.
Mudhoney does "Touch Me, I'm Sick" like about a third of into the set.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
No. Wow. I mean, it's like, but again, it's funny that. Actually,
let all the rock dads go home, I guess. I don't know. I said, let all the rock dads go home early, I guess. I don't know. But.
I don't. Well, I think it's kind of. I mean, just as an aside, it's really weird to me now. Even like if I go out and like when I used to go to New York when I was younger, or when we played in New York, gigs didn't start till 1 a.m.
Right.
Yeah. And now the venues are closed at 10.
Oh my God.
I'm not complaining. I'm now happy to get home early, but it just seems like the culture.
Can I tell you? I
get on their phones, I guess. I don't know.
I saw an awesome show by a band I love. It was a like pseudo reunion thing. Great show, killed it. Was trying to sit down with a drink with one of the people in the band at his suggestion. They were like, "Nope, bar's closed." And this is like 10 o'clock. They were like pushing people out the door with a broom.
It's rock and roll lifestyle.
I was like, "What? It's 10 o'clock, bro? Like what?"
Yeah, this is the times we live in. See, get off my lawn.
Yeah, but, exactly.
No, I mean, ironically, so we did, we did wait, and that was all of that was really good, and we were on a roll, and then we end up in the World War I trench warfare of lawyers, between Imago and getting out of the contract with them, and so basically we had to kind of sit still. Right.
And that's a critical time for like the music industry fundamentally changes in those 3 years.
It does. And not just that, it was also like what happened was that we still rehearsed 4 or 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Most of that time. Right. And so by the time we get to Come In and Burn, Come In and Burn, I think, is actually the best sounding of our records. I mean,
it sounds great. Yeah.
I mean, the actual audio, Cliff Norell is a great engineer, and Steve Thompson we were never an easy band to produce. We were an impossible band to produce, actually.
How so?
Because we usually, well, first of all, I mean, Andrew's at this point a very good producer, but at that point I hadn't done any production. You've got to let a producer do their job.
Okay.
Well, which is not to shape and mold you and turn you into a boy band, but it's like,
no, but
you've got to let we were very resistant to any changes in the compositions,
right?
And very resistant to any. We were not collegial with producers in general. And Steve Thompson is a great guy and a great producer, but I don't think he ever actually got what we were about, right? And I remember we met with. In hindsight, and we went with Michael Beinhorn. That lasted about 2 minutes. He walked in and he went, "Oh, I hate those amps. I can't use those amps." Me and Melvin just looked at each other. Okay, this guy's out. Right? It's like, no way.
Do you remember that? Speaking of Beinhorn, what was it? The Beinhorn pause. That was like the big thing he was known for, which is absurd in the era of digital recording, but the idea is like, no, one of his production signatures is that he would like have a very specific like pause that he would put in for like emphasis on things. No, it's kind of
like the gap in Monkey Wrench.
Right.
That's not much. I don't think that's Beinhorn.
I think that's big, but like, yeah, that was like, I remember hearing from a producer friend. I was like, what are you talking about? Like the Beinhorn pause.
Again, great producer. Nothing against him.
He's great. Yeah.
Well with him.
Yeah.
But no, in hindsight, I always wish I wish we'd worked with. Oh God, what's his name? The guy who did the
he also fires drummers too. Yeah, that's his big thing is that he fires drummers.
But good luck with that with us. I mean,
yeah, I was gonna say.
That thing can happen. But no, we met with what's his name? The guy who produced Berlin for Lou Reed.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Come on.
It'll come back. Anyway,
Bob Ezrin.
Bob Ezrin, that's right.
Jesus
he came
Christ.
in just to meet with us, and we were like, it'd be so great if you produced. And he just told stories. He wasn't interested in producing us, but it was like, that would have been really cool. No, with hindsight, I mean, again.
Well, because he did those like he did those Alice Cooper records, right? I mean, God, it's great.
He's the shit. And I did ask him, I said, okay, when you did They're Taking His Children Away, I mean, did you actually make your kids cry? And he went, no. We did it. They were almost laughing. We just did it. I said, okay. I was worried about that. But Bob Ezrin was good. But no, who's the guy who did a bunch of Soundgarden records?
Him. Whatever. Anyway, yeah.
That guy. We should have got him.
Yeah.
But again, we had Steve Thompson, and Steve, he did what he could. Like I said, we were not. We would have done better to be more open to other ideas. Not because we would have sounded radically different, but some of the songs could have been shorter. But Come In and Burn is incredibly overwritten. That's part of the problem. So two things. Two things happened. One of which is Henry was very, very busy doing a bunch of stuff, and so we had less of his attention and less of his input. And at the same time, we were writing music that was less and less suited to the way he writes. Right? Again, it got those songs. If you leave me and Melvin and Sim in a room for 9 months to work to make music, it's going to end up with a lot of parts, right? Because we just like to make things interesting, right? You work on the same songs for 6 or 8 months. They ain't going to be, they're not going to be a Ramones tune. So the songs, while they sound amazing, a lot of them don't work under their own weight, I think. I mean, my favorite songs on there are like Neon, right? Neon. I mean, there's some great, what's the other? Neon and Shame, right? The way Shame comes in is just like, damn. That's hard, and that's down to Steve and Cliff. But one of the most successful songs on there, I think, is On My Way to the Cage, right? Which is Steve actually going, look, just write something right now. Just write something, play something fast.
Right.
I was like,
just go.
And he said, would you mind using tune down to D? I'm like, no. But I did it, and I was like, at that point, every band in the world was playing in drop D, and I was like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, because it's becoming kind of a gimmick.
No, so like that. It was like, that was me just kind of flipping him off. Actually, I was like, you want your drop D generic idiot riff? Sure, here you go. Yeah,
great.
And it works. It's one of the fresher pieces of music on that record, and so again, that's another mixed bag. So like I said, I love the audio quality of that record is amazing.
No, I know what you're saying.
Good performances, but the trouble is we got left alone with it for too long. I think
like it was almost overcooked. Do you think?
I think it was over. I think it's overwritten. I mean, it's still good, but it would have been much better if we had not had so long to think about it.
Like you could have done like 2 or 3 records in that time period.
Basically,
and maybe would have
and they would have been good. Yeah. So and I think, like I say, Henry was finding it harder to write for what we were doing. I mean, we had less of his attention, but we were also giving him less to work with. And because we were getting less from him, we were making it up by making things more, by adding more layers, or more harmony. So it was kind of like a we like I said, we didn't have very much of Henry, so we were compensating, and the more we compensated, the harder it was for him to find a way in. That's my take on it.
Yeah. It's an adverse situation too, and also when you're in a situation where, and I mean this is a compliment, you have volatile elements putting together. I mean, what's going to happen?
Again, it's funny. It is. Yeah, I don't know. Being in a band is like it's like a polyamorous arranged marriage. It's like no, because I mean, think it's a lot. It is like a lot like any other romantic relationship. You get together because you like doing that one thing with that person, right? You like doing this one thing with those people, like, and then the longer you stay together, the more complex it becomes. And when there's 4 or 5 of you, and these all these relationships are polyvalent, as they say in chemistry, right? Yeah. It just gets really being in a band is hard. Having a straight job is like a vacation compared to being in a band. I love going. I mean, I love having a straight job, but I don't have to think about it. I'm not invested in it. I don't feel like my integrity and my soul are on the line when I hand somebody some donuts or something.
You're onto something. Yeah, right. Yeah, you're onto something because, like, again, it's not just that you're doing the work. It's like, no, this is like your creative passion as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you feel like if that part is compromised, then like you're like, well, what am I doing this for?
Well, that's that. But that's the thing. So, like, is it, who would choose this? Right? It's like, no, it's like somebody pointed out about like, whenever the right wing say, well, being gay is a choice, like. Yeah. Who would choose to be gay in Rwanda? I mean, who would make this choice?
I want to choose the most difficult life path possible. Yeah,
in
great.
Rural Alabama, where your family's gonna, extra, you're gonna be, exiled and vilified.
Sounds great.
But it's sort of like, who would choose to have an unreliable income and and strain every relationship they have. In order to go play music to 5 people who are in the opening band. I mean, it's like who would want this if they didn't have to, right?
Yeah. You're compelled to do it,
Yeah,
and it's
essentially. But I mean, that's I was talking to
that is funny
this evening, which is like, and it becomes as you get older, it becomes a weird thing. Like, I'm 62, I'm still out there trying to play. Yeah. Original music that moves me, that I feel is sincere, and but the secret to my style is twofold. One of which is I'm not actually very good, and the second thing is that I try and write music. I try and play music that's too hard I write music that's too hard for me to play, but I'm still doing it. But
I dig that aesthetic. Actually, I think that's a cool
and with what goes with that, along with this comes back to like, why am I still doing this? Yeah. Is it does come down to like, am I being true to my nature and my calling? Because that's essentially what it is. It's more like saying, who would choose this if it wasn't a calling, right? Or am I just neurotically clinging to what I wanted to do when I was 15? Or is it both?
Totally. Well, but I mean, I think it's all interesting. Like, I mean, I dug the Insufficient Necessities record, the compositions, Linear B. They're cool.
I'm getting more concise as I get older. It's like this. Because I mean, I used to like find a good riff, and I can listen to a good riff endlessly, and I just figure like, who doesn't want to hear this one riff for 7 minutes?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, no, most people don't. But it's getting better. And the records that are nearly, I've got a covers record that's nearly finished.
Oh, cool.
Which is interesting. What's up? I'm trying to think what there's a Led Zeppelin tune from an unreleased jam off a bootleg. There's a Sonny Chirac tune. Nice. There's 2 Grateful Dead tunes. One of Vernon Reid's tunes. Average White Band, and Montrose.
Wow.
That's actually done. I'm just waiting for that to be finished being mixed, and then I'll put that up and out. There will be vinyl on that, and I'm working on. I've got a project in Australia, which is again, my ambition was the way I described it when I was finally looking for folks. I was like, imagine television playing Dark Star, right? So so it's like that kind of where that angularity of Tom Verlaine or Richard Thompson or Crimson but I want to be able to do free form improvisation.
Expansive. Yeah.
But I did. There was one gig. This guy walked up to me after, and he said, "I don't know what that was, but that was amazing. It was like King Crimson meets the Meat Puppets." And I was like, I feel seen.
I love it. I love it.
Nobody again, like as I would say, tell the guys in my band, it's like, nobody's going to hear this. Most of the people that do hear it won't like it. The people that do like it won't get it. And that's just how it is.
But the people that do get it will mean the world to.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's like I say, it's not a choice anymore. You just kind of like, I remember seeing Dee Dee at the end of the century documentary. There's a Dee Dee Ramone says something like, "Why this should have been over long ago." Right?
Yeah,
and that's sort of how I feel. Like I was like, "Why am I still doing this?" I don't know, but I just have to keep doing it.
Chris, this has been lovely, man. Thank you so much for spending so much time with me.
It's been lovely chatting with you, and it's really cool. This is a really cool show. Everybody, give him money.
Yeah, give me money.
Give him
You'll
money.
hear the man.
Yeah.
That's gonna be my Patreon pitch. It's like I'll just put that video up.
Yeah, and if there's anything we've forgotten or you want to follow up on, just hit me up. Everybody else, be well and stay well and be kind.
Last thing, this is a canned question. It's the only question I ever ask. It's at the end of the show.
Yeah.
You can choose to interpret it however you like, but why do you do what you do?
I thought we just covered that. Because I can't dance. Actually, no, it's funny. I used to ask. I was like, part of the reason I started playing guitar was because I was pathologically shy. I was this class doofus, right?
Yeah.
I was like, the not class clown, but it's too weird, too misfit, whatever. And and just kind of like, and when I found the guitar, right, all of a sudden I had something, right? And I remember the first time I met Kim Thiel, right, on their bus at Lala, I think it was, and it was really funny because we're very alike in a lot of ways. I remember he said at one point, he said, "Are you me?" But I remember one of the first things I ever asked him was, "When you were in school, could you dance?" He was like, "Of course not." So why do I do what I do? Because I can't dance. I don't know.
I love it. Chris Haskett, thank you so much, man. Appreciate your time, brother.
Take care.
Don't be a stranger.
I'm not. I'm always strange. I don't get stranger. I'm already strange. Anyway, you sign off.
All right, take care, brother.
Take care.
There he goes. Chris Haskett, what a cool guy. That's awesome. Let's close out here with it's Uncle Alligator apparently. I'm gonna throw on Low Self Opinion. I like that tune. Here we go.
Get yourself a break from self-rejection. Try some vividly, I assure you. I know the self-doubt that burns inside your mind. I know the self-doubt that treats you so unkind. If you could see the you that I see, when I see you see me, you see yourself so differently. Believe me, no, and so, no, and so, no, and so, no, and so, hey.
Low SO. Low self-opinion, man. That's off of Into Silence. By Rollins Band. Featuring Mr. Chris Haskett. We didn't even ask about Pigface. I forgot to ask about Pigface. Damn it. That's fine. I thought that was a good show. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I've been wanting to have that dude on for a long time. Folks that have been asking about that, you know who you are. You're welcome. Hope you guys dug it. What a cool guy. Really stoked he did that. I don't even mind doing the show later than normal. The name of the show is Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. Thank you ever so very much for listening to it. And this show streams live. YouTube and Twitch. Thursdays, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific, usually. When someone doesn't have an aesthetic show to go to. Podcasted later. Sure, later. Later, everywhere you get your podcasts, ProtonicReversal.com. Archives always free, no ads, no sponsors, no kidding. But if you like the show and you want to get episodes sooner, $1 a month at patreon.com/ProtonicReversal achieves that goal. Helps me keep these literal lights on. And, this is a darn nice thing to do. So, thanks everyone sharing the episodes around. Liking, subscribing on your platform of choice, commenting, all that stuff. Helps beat back the almighty algorithm, and I thank you for it.
I've got
what else? There's some cool stuff coming up. You're not going to want to miss it. We have Upright Forms coming up, the band. Alan Johannes returns. Dale Crover, Red Cross, Melvins, and Conan Neutron Secret Friends. Dwayne Dennison, Jesus Lizard. It's going to be a hell of a month. It's going to be really good. So stick with me.
Into electricity. Can you hear
And stay safe out there.
Out on Route 128, dark and lonely. I got my radio on. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Welcome to my top 10.
I'd like to thank our sponsor. But we haven't got a sponsor. Not if you were the last man on Earth. She was prepared to prove it. This one goes out to a special girl. There is no special girl. It's the end of radio. The last announcer plays the last record. The last what? Leaves the transmitter. Circles the globe in search of a listener. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Is it really broadcasting if there's no one there to receive? It's the end of radio. As we come to the close of our broadcast day, got my radio on. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? This is a test! If this had been a real emergency,